So what a time to be a Phoenix Suns fan because I feel like the window had closed a little bit. We've got Chris Paul getting older, Devin Booker injured. We were kind of just plodding along, right? And the West was wide open. And all of a sudden, what is it, Friday night for me, Thursday night, um, great text message to receive from you that are the Suns the favorites? And I didn't have my phone on me, so I go and have a look. What's this context about? And we have Kevin Durant added to the roster for what is a pretty generous trade package, but for someone of his caliber, you're going to expect that. Mikal Bridges going, I think, is the biggest loss there, and obviously the main trade chip for Brooklyn, and that supposedly is what kept the trade talk stalled for as long as it was. Um, but finally, the Suns actually do something, right? I think I've preached this before that doing things when you are stuck in a certain position, you have to give them credit. So I gave Minnesota credit for what they did, even if it didn't work. At least they did something, and they didn't accept kind of sitting in the same position. And the Phoenix Suns probably were slated to go to a first round exit, maybe a second round exit. And what they've done is they propelled themselves straight into championship conversations. And I know that there's going to be a bit of a narrative around health concerns, right? So Kevin Durant has some health concerns, post Achilles, MCL sprains, etc. But we've seen him recently be phenomenal, and we can't pretend that that on the team isn't an asset. I think health is a very interesting topic to talk about because we talk about teams as if, oh, if they're healthy, and if the Phoenix Suns are healthy, they are probably the best team in the NBA. And if the Denver Nuggets are healthy, Phoenix should still beat them. And that's the way that you probably need to frame this as that we've upgraded our ceiling. Our ceiling is now incredibly high. And what we lost a lot of future. But clearly this is a win now move. Clearly we're going to have a title in the next 2 years. And my son's apparel just will continue to grow with great names on the back of the jerseys now. So
Yeah, that was a good spiel for the Phoenix Suns. Good job. I guess no doubt in mind you're a Phoenix fan. Yeah, is that what you're trying to convince all our viewers here that I think your contention window is extremely fragile. I think that's probably the key word here. And you touched upon it, injuries like any team. That's obviously a contender. Injuries a huge factor. Your key players staying healthy and being able to, go all the way to the finals and be available to play all the games to the finals, hopefully that you get there is key. And I think KD is a great player, don't get me wrong. I think no one's going to disagree that you shouldn't have pulled this trade, but I'd hate for you to feel that, it's the LA Clippers, Lob City, deja vu, where your conference finals up 2-1 perhaps, and oh no, CP3's rolled his ankle, and now you got no point guard, and you're relying on Cameron Payne to do all the heavy lifting. And you know what? Look, if you guys can stay healthy, of course you guys are contenders. But I think that's the key with any team. All right, hey, if LeBron and AD can stay healthy all season, okay, they've missed chunks of games, especially AD, as always. Okay, we would probably feel there might be, maybe 5 to 10 games higher up the standings. All right, in that situation. So again, health is so critical. Golden State right now have health issues with Steph Curry, and are they going to be able to pick up enough wins to, I don't know, either avoid the play-in or at least qualify for the play-in. Lakers have upgraded the roster. Obviously, T-Wolves want to move in that conversation. OKC's knocking on the door right now. It's pretty crazy that they're going to get Chet Holmgren back next season, and they're obviously right now sort of fringe playoff contenders. Um, Look, there's only sort of 10 spots there, and it's a numbers game. So look, I don't know. Look, you guys, look, great trade. I think you guys, definitely it's a good trade, but time will tell how fragile this decision was.
it's personally, if I was to have hot take inserted next to something, I think our chances of winning a championship are actually better next season than they are this season, right? So I don't believe KD returns before the All-Star break. And after that, you've got what, 26 games or something to really get a rhythm. You fingers crossed, you hope that things can work for that. But I feel like this is a 2 year window that we've kind of bought ourselves here, right? Because Chris Paul is Okay, here's the thing, right? Everyone's going to go, Chris Paul is aging and he's going to get injured. That's been the case now for 10 years. So if we already are expecting that, at least we're in a better position to have that happen to us now, that we have two wing scorers and we have a big that probably should feed off that benefit, right? So, the Brooklyn situation, non-traditional point guard still managed to work. Devin Booker's taken some playmaking duties. Cam Payne can come into that. I think I think the thing was we have two timelines here. They make this trade and we have this window of opportunity, or they don't make this trade. And I think we can both agree that nothing's probably going to happen, right? The Phoenix Suns were not really going to do it again. They weren't going to get back to the finals with the roster currently constructed. And this just increases the chances. And that's really what I think when we talk about the trades today, that's the purpose of these trade deadlines. You were trying to make your team better for the immediate future. And, we saw 38 second round picks just get thrown around because, it's just not viewed as valuable in the current time. And, the 80 Lakers trade only passes the test because they got a title out of it. It's actually atrocious in retrospect on what they gave up and how long they've been relevant for, but they did get a championship.
I think clearly you are biased. I think no one's going to dispute that, and I think you're putting a lot of faith into CP3 and the fact he is old, and there's no other way to spin this. And his game is in significant decline. And I think the biggest telling factor here is that, well, not only is he averaging the least points ever, okay, this is his lowest scoring season ever, and that's considering Booker's now missed a chunk of time, obviously. All right, so he's had those sort of moments where he definitely could have taken more shots, but his shooting now has fallen off a cliff. Okay, CP3 last 3 seasons before this season was shooting just shy of 50% from the field, but at the moment he's shooting about 43%, and that's a telling factor of aging players. You go through stats of all sort of all stars and superstars, the final years, more often than not, especially when they're still playing and he's playing still 30 minutes a game, their shooting sort of falls off a cliff. Okay. And I think, look, KD probably still got to maintain his play next season. Book has probably got, maybe something still up the sleeve that he can still add to his game, but CP3 is in decline. Okay,
I,
and you're saying now next season maybe that they're going to go a step further than this
I
season. I don't know. I'm feeling that's optimistic.
I feel like it's a reduced role now for CP3, right? Because obviously CP3 had to anchor the load for a little bit of time when Devin Booker was out. Mikal Bridges, despite the spurts of offensive prowess, was not the number one option a lot of the time. And teams' defensive schemes was Chris Paul's 38, put pressure on him, make his life hard, and we've got a high probability to beat the Suns. And teams proved that in Devin Booker's absence. So now that KD is on the court, it just changes the dynamic. It's like adding any good player to any team. You get different shot opportunities. The coverages are slightly different. Like you think about Phoenix, for example,
Let me.
DeAndre Ayton needs to be set up. He never demanded the ball. Devin Booker can create his own shot, and that was about it, right? So the defensive scheme is now instantly different against the Phoenix Suns because Kevin Durant is there.
Let me ask you a question. All right, as a fan supporter here, and just to consider this factor here, if Booker was not injured, okay, the last I don't know, it's been out probably about 4 weeks, I think, if not longer. It feels like forever. Yeah. All right. And you guys, and with Booker, you guys win 5 more games. That's a conservative number. Yeah, probably win more than 5 games over 4 weeks. Okay, that would rocket you guys up to second in the West. Would you still pull this trade? See, that's the key. Okay, you guys were feeling desperate. You guys are in that fringe spot, like you were a few weeks ago, maybe even missing the play in. Now you're sitting for fifth on the ladder. Booker's come back. Hopefully, he can climb a few more spots. But if you were sitting second, okay, with the core with Bridges and Cam Johnson and the pieces you had, and you still had Jay Crowder to move for something else, for another asset, a smaller piece, okay, filling in maybe I don't know, another backup point guard because Cam Payne has been sort of unreliable this year with injuries too. Okay, would you have still swung this trade? That's a huge what if. Okay,
I
but
think I think yes. I think yes, because I think after last season with the flame out in game seven against the Mavs, the Phoenix Suns are very conscious that I think the Mavs are in theory their biggest threat because there's that psychological advantage. They watch them get Kyrie Irving 2 days earlier. And I think they kind of understood that the Chris Paul window, I'm saying we've got 2 years. Chris Paul could have 2 months. Like, that window could be legitimately like already actually shut, but you could slip a piece of paper through. So they've made a call on that. And if we're bad, right, we just spent a decade being bad. Really, that's like as a Phoenix Suns fan, we actually just spent a decade of being bad the post Steve Nash era. And that was not because we took a swing on anybody. That was actually just like everyone collectively gave up. The start of I left to New York for that. We traded, the husk of Shaquille O'Neal, and Steve Nash was like, I want to be closer to California, and that's it. That's what a Phoenix Suns fan is looking at
I,
right now.
I, I,
So
I love your optimism. I felt the same way maybe, I don't know, hell, 20 years ago. As an Orlando Magic fan, I'll give you a bit of refresher here. I think you know what I'm going to talk about. When we brought in T-Mac and we brought in Grant Hill, and we were like all the rage, and we're going to win the East. And oh my God, we got two potential, I don't know, superstars now on our team. And how many games did Grant Hill play? And all that optimism certainly went out the door over the course of the next few years because it simply wasn't available. And like I said, I'll come back to that word fragile. You got three very fragile players at the moment. None of them have shown the ability to really string together half a season or a full season or even a full postseason. Okay, at this point, look, fingers crossed you guys stay healthy. Fingers crossed you guys go all the way. But it feels that there's a lot of contenders out there that probably feel like a better bet right now. And look, that's
see, I feel like every team, if you go through the list of teams, everybody has a player on their team that they just hope stays healthy, right? So Denver is a beneficiary of Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. currently being healthy, right? Two players that have not technically had that in recent history. You got the Clippers, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, right? Instant, easy. You've got the Lakers, you've got AD, and even LeBron at this stage in his career, so you have those factors as well. Luka has missed time, and whenever Luka does miss time, instantly crumbles the Mavs, so that's a factor for them. Who else am I thinking of? Minnesota, currently without Cat. Pelicans without. Think this is why I guess I understand the fear around these players and their health concerns, but I think it's just if we roll the dice and we have good health, if we had good health with Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges versus good health with Kevin Durant, there are two different outcomes for those scenarios. And I think we know that the Kevin Durant being healthy scenario with finals experience, finals MVP caliber stuff, like we have added a very high caliber player to our team, right? And we gave up future. We gave up future stock of first round picks. We gave up two young, decent players that obviously had a good, decent debut for Brooklyn. But we're getting something that's proven. We're getting something that, if it all works, we hold Larry O'Brien in a couple of months. That's what really this ends up being. So, and to bring in your bring in your Magic thing, both of those players actually hadn't proved much yet, right? So that's the difference. Tracy McGrady was young coming from Toronto, and Grant Hill was young coming from Detroit, right? And never really got the playoff wins. We're not adding a player that has a checkered past and hasn't proved it yet. We're bringing in a two-time champion. We're bringing in a two-time Finals MVP. I feel like I feel like if I'm going to slip this in here, I think the Pat Bev to Orlando trade is what's actually kind of driving a lot of this negativity, and maybe we'll touch on that in a bit. I don't know.
Hey, let's just to wrap this podcast up. So, are you changing your pick now to win the finals for the Suns?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
I'll go and write it right now. Where is it? Yeah,
let's record that.
yeah. We've got it.
Yo, this is Two Guys with Spare Time. I'm Faz, this is Nick. You're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist and giving our video a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.